Hi, my name's Audra. Thanks for joining me today. If you've been watching these videos, you know that we've been talking through the book of Acts, and Paul has been one of our main characters. And so this is going to be video 1 of 3 videos talking about Paul's 3 missionary journeys that he takes during this book. Now, if you remember, when we first met Paul, he was also known as Saul, and this was back in chapter 9, and he did not think Christ was the same as God. And so he was persecuting Christians. That was his mission, was to persecute anyone who's following Christ. So Jesus gets a hold of him in a miraculous way. I'll link the chapter 9 video at the end of this video for you. But Christ gets a hold of him, and Paul totally does a 180, changes, and now his whole mission in life is to preach the gospel. And this is why he goes on 3 separate missionary journeys in this book. During his ministry, the Apostle Paul traveled about 10,000 miles and established at least 14 churches. And some of these church names would be familiar to you because he wrote letters to them, or epistles, which we now know as a huge chunk of our New Testament. During his missionary journeys, Paul traveled to Greece, Turkey, Syria, and many, many other places. And again, I know your time is limited, so we're just going to focus on missionary journey number 1 today. Paul's first missionary journey takes place in Acts 13 and 14, and I thought it'd be good to remind you that the book of Acts is written by Luke, and Luke was a historian. So even though these 2 books encompass quite a few months, maybe even a year, Luke is just getting all the information secondhand, writing down the main points so we can learn from them and remember Paul's journey. Paul's first missionary journey took place in AD 47 and 48. And if you look at verse 2 of chapter 13, you'll see that the Holy Spirit sent Paul and Barnabas out on this first journey. And the sending city was Antioch. And Antioch was the 3rd largest city in ancient Rome. It was the capital of Syria, and today it's part of southern Turkey. Paul and Barnabas left Antioch and traveled by boat to the Roman province of Cyprus. And more specifically, in Salamis, they met John Mark there as well, and the 3 of them preached in Jewish synagogues. The 3 men leave Salamis and head to Paphos. And in Paphos, they meet a sorcerer named Elymas. And Elymas's goal is to try to prevent Sergius from believing. And he causes such a disturbance that it ends up doing the opposite. Because once again, Paul calls him out and he becomes blind. And in the end, Sergius believes. Paul, Barnabas, and John Mark then set sail for Pamphylia. And disclaimer, some of these names and cities are difficult to pronounce, and we're just going to do the best we can today and stick with it. Anyway, at this point, John Mark decides to leave the other 2 men and head to Jerusalem. So Paul and Barnabas head to Pisidian Antioch. And in this town, we're going to see a common theme of the Jews not liking all the attention that the missionaries get on their journey. And so at first, Paul and Barnabas can preach the gospel and then they're welcomed. But then the Jewish leaders get jealous and end up shutting down what they're doing. After this, Paul and Barnabas head to Iconium. And once again, the Jews start to stir up trouble when they hear that Paul and Barnabas are preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. And in this town, Paul and Barnabas are getting both acceptance of the gospel and the rejection. And they know that their lives are at risk, so they decide to head on to their next destination. Paul and Barnabas head to Lystra, and in this town, they heal a man, and people are accepting. They think it's so awesome that these missionaries have the ability to heal. But instead of giving praise to God, the people start offering sacrifices, and they say that Paul and Barnabas are Greek gods in human form. And Paul knows this is incorrect. They're trying to redirect all the praise to God. But again, the Jewish leaders, they're jealous and they start stirring up trouble. They caused so much trouble and dissension that the people were convinced to stone Paul. So they stone him, bring him outside the city, think he is dead. but Paul's a scrapper, so he survives, and he and Barnabas head on to their last destination on this journey of Derbe. And here they are able to win a large number of disciples. So after this victory in Derbe, Paul and Barnabas start heading back to Antioch, and they go through each of the cities that they went on their journey to Derbe. They also added the city of Attalia to their journey. And then they finally reached Antioch and were able to tell the church everything that had happened to them. Wow, what a first missionary journey for Paul. He was stoned and survived. People offered sacrifices to him. He healed people and preached the gospel over and over and over again. I hope this video has been a good overview of Acts 13 and 14 and given you a picture of Paul's first missionary journey. Thank you so much for joining me today. See you next time.